I am Chaplain Matt Thompson, and I am here to talk to you now about our word of the month for the month of May. Just an encouraging word in the middle of the month to pick you up a little bit. And you might be feeling a little bit down, or you might be feeling a little bit depressed or spiritually unconnected, or whatever the case may be. Your chaplain team is here. RST number 1 is here to show you the word of the month, and that happens to be the word encouragement. And so for the month of May, the chaplain team here at Westover is focusing on encouragement. Where does that come from? So for me, in the scriptures, it comes from the book of Acts. And the book of Acts is really awesome because it's all about people doing stuff and taking action. What we're used to doing in the military is going and physically doing things. So the book of Acts are about these close followers of Jesus that just went out and did things. And they just explored, and they just talked about what motivated them and what their passions were. But sometimes it got kind of hard. Sometimes it got a little depressing. Sometimes things got a little down and out. And so people like the Apostle Paul, St. Paul, needed encouragement. So he had this great guy near him that the book of Acts calls Barnabas. And Barnabas is this guy who is known for two things. He was known for, number one, being an encourager, of course, and then number two, he was also known for being a peacemaker. And so at this time in their life, as they went around and they talked about this man named Jesus, and they spread the gospel message of Jesus, that before, when Jesus died and was buried and rose again and ascended to be with our Lord, had left, they were so excited about it, they had to go around and tell everybody about what they believed. And so they still needed to follow each other and hold each other accountable and encourage one another. In the book of Acts, in chapter 4, it mentions Barnabas and it mentions Paul and their relationship later on in Acts chapter 14. And you see this connection that these men have, that these individuals have with each other, and how they encourage each other. And so as airmen in the U.S. Air Force, that's what we're supposed to do for one another. That's what you're supposed to do for your loved ones, for your family, for your friends, for acquaintances that you see at work, for coworkers, for just people that are your neighbors down the street. We're supposed to encourage one another through these tough times instead of just dwelling on the tough times. You know, Barnabas and if Paul, if they just went around and just thought only about the bad times and the persecution that they faced by introducing this new doctrine to the world, and they did indeed face tough times, depressing times, and they were persecuted. But if they only focused on that and they didn't encourage one another, then they would have a really dull life. So you and I have the opportunity to encourage one another even in the midst of a pandemic that's affecting the entire world. That's certainly bringing some of you down at times, and it's certainly bringing other people down around you. And so we look to each other to encourage one another. So one way that we do that is just by reading each other. And if you know somebody around you who's just having a bad day, maybe they're just a little bit more worn out looking than they always are. Maybe they've said some things that kind of warn you that, hey, this person needs some encouragement. I need to come along and ask how this person truly is doing in their life. Maybe that's a close spouse, maybe that's a significant other, maybe that's a friend or a family member, or anybody that you can think of that you talk to, that you interact with. But whoever it is in your life, reach into their life and find out how they're really doing. That's what Barnabas did, that's what Paul did in the scriptures, and that's my challenge to you as your chaplain, is to look for those people, be proactive and try to find them and to look and encourage them. Barnabas not only did this for Paul, but he did this for all the other early church fathers, if you will, and all the people that were starting churches around different cities throughout the entire Middle East. They encouraged these new believers, these new churches as they started up. That's that idea of coming alongside our brothers and sisters and saying, we all need this. The chaplain needs this. And if I need to be encouraged sometimes, I know everybody else does, because life is not always a bucket of roses, right? Life sometimes throws us challenges. And so as we close our word of the month in encouragement, I encourage you to check out the book of Acts and look at chapter 4 and look at those awesome stories. So your homework assignment from your chaplain is to read Acts chapter 4 and just see encouragement in action. And as we take that together, we're going to be encouraged because we have an example that's gone before us. And so thank you for your time. I look forward to our next Word of the Month, where we're going to be talking about different things. It's probably going to come at the end of the month, and we're going to talk about a new word that's going to help us to be encouraged as we wrap up the month of May, and as we look to one another and look to examples of how to help other people around us, and therefore help ourselves.